Okay, I've been like spending most of all of my days lately on this on this shit with the biofeedback where I beta locked myself in a tension, and the way out of that is it's pretty complicated. Now, when you're out of it and you're just not doing it, then it seems so easy to not do it, right? You just man, but I'll tell you this in this way in which I was just kind of like thinking about stuff and everything, thinking about everything, and then I noticed, oh, my thoughts aren't connected to any inner inner tension, isometric inner tension, and then it's like, oh, well, then I am out of it, and I am. So then, and it doesn't have to be like a real strong gut emotion there all the time, and I don't have to be strongly sensing the exterior all the time to be out of it, you know? The number one thing is just that you're not doing the isometric inner tension up into your head and face. As long as that is disconnected from your just thinking, then that's all you need, you know? So that's why you just kind of have to understand that is the most important part, really. I mean, oh boy, I got just clenched in it so hard that it's much more it's kind of can become much more complicated than that. But yeah, explaining the way out of it is really difficult when you get stuck into it. I did that biofeedback in which I tried to make the waves go up and down really fast. And like if you flex your muscles, it does that. So I was trying to do it like you're not allowed to like flex your muscles really hard. I just tried to do it like up in my head, like I just was like almost imagining myself getting inside of my brain and squeezing it, and that's what it felt like. It feels like I call it like a ghost arm going up into your neck and then like squeezing internally. And so just the thought of what that feeling feels like will, unfortunately can very easily get me beta locked. So I don't even really want to think too much about it. I was stuck in it for years and years nonstop in my sleep and my wake 24/7, right? But the interesting thing, my techniques for getting out of it is like, like getting into the body control, and then you sense what you're touching, like kind of getting a gut feeling sensation on that. And then once you feel that gut feeling, because you're trying to transfer it, you're trying to get rid of this. And getting rid of it is a process of not thinking about it. But because what happens is that because when I did it through biofeedback, I did it to do this, and then everything was a projection of it. Like this came first, and then my thoughts were so the thoughts were with tension, the very shallow thoughts, because I'm holding attention as I'm trying to think. And so then it's like, what? I can't pay. And I did this to pay more attention to stuff, right? And it obviously created the total opposite. But anyways, so I mean that clench, that inner clench is so painful that it's really hard to figure out how to not do it. Especially like when I did it so young. I couldn't even remember what it was like to not do it. So I just couldn't even envision what it was really like, because I never paid attention to how I just automatically am all the time, right? But anyways, I'll get to the steps. But I'm also saying but when you're out of it, you're not feeling like, like what you're not, it's not the same feelings of everything on everything else. When you're out of it, it's a different feeling, right? Being out of it. It just feels like the tension is the you're not doing the inner tension. And when you think, you're not inner clenching into the thought. You're not inner clenching into whatever you're doing. Inner clenching while you do everything. Because that's what I did, is I did that really hard, and then everything was an inner clenching. Even just thinking about stuff was always that inner clench in the thoughts, inner clench with everything. And I got stuck in just the worst horrific thing for years, right? First 8 years straight, and then I was just kind of like, oh boy, I can't believe it. But yes, it is very, very true. Very, very true. Holy shit, man. That EEG biofeedback is unbelievably dangerous. If you do it wrong like that. I mean, it's worse than death, really. If I got stuck in that forever, it'd be worse than death. Well, obviously. I mean, there's probably a life that's more painful than pleasurable is going to be a life that's not worth it. But this is like taking pain to the extremes. Anyways, God, I keep tangenting here. So I'm saying, let's go all the steps, right? The step process is the first. You want to get inside your own body, sensations. And then you're sensing what this feels like, right? You're feeling it and trying to think about it and feeling it, right? And sometimes this alone might be enough for as long as you're really focused on it, right? Sometimes that can be alone, because what the process is that you're just trying to get this. It is a process of not thinking about it in this way, but you have to use your sensations. It's not just like not thinking about it like I'm going to think about a hockey game or a movie style. That is not good enough, because you're inner clenched in all of your prefrontal cortex thinking. So that's not going to stop it. But the sensation type of thinking, where it's less of a thinking type of thing and more of a doing, because this tension thing is not like a thinking sort of thing. It is like a doing type of thing. So the opposite of that is the doing type of thing, where you're kind of doing the feeling of it and trying to get that gut feeling onto that. Okay, once that tension starts getting dropped, it'll get dropped even more. So now I know what this feels like, but everything else, I'm also trying to get a gut feeling on everything else, right? So just like how I have this gut feeling here onto this, the things that I'm actually touching, as well as, feeling in whole. That's probably more important than that is the first step, in which I'm getting myself all in whole all at once. That's the first number one step. Getting all in whole in the first person all at once. And then I'm sensing what, like, I'm sitting on. This is the grounding technique, more conventional grounding technique. The feet on the floor. I'm trying to get my concentration onto that. Off of this and onto that. Okay? So that's, and then also, so we got that, and then we need to get our thinking more involved. Because all of my thought images, like when I dream and everything, it is of this person who's trapped in literally in their own head, feeling their own head tension constantly. So the thinking needs to be of myself as the person who's not doing that, but rather has sensations on everything, and their thoughts are flowing with their thinking, right? So that's why we have to now get our visualizations into this method too, this grounded method. So first, the lightest way is the visualize, like the ball of light, almost Tai Chi. I'm sensing it in that way. Everything else, I am sensing in the way that like I'm predicting, like, how does this feel? I don't know. Like I'm knowing what that sensation is basically, and all of the sensations, all the thoughts of everything around me with that sensation, that kind of automatic sensory system. I'm also getting a feel of all of it around me, not just what I'm touching. So I'm expanding that, getting in my body, expanding the in my body feeling to what I'm touching, feeling, sitting on, and expanding that more into the thought generation of what everything around me feels like that I'm not touching. So those are the first three main steps. And then because the third step is already starting to get the thinking connected to this feeling. So the first steps are about dropping the tension. And by the third step, we're re-engaging that tension into the direct thought to emotional feeling. Okay? Number one thing is that we want our thoughts disconnected from the inner tension that we started doing. That total disconnect. And, that starts with getting rid of the tension feeling. Okay? So, so that's by far the most important thing. Once there is the feeling is not there anymore because it has been replaced on either because your thoughts started getting generated without the tension feeling, and you're just kind of like thinking about everything, and it's not connected to the tension. That alone is good, as long as the tension's not there. That alone, you're out of it alone. So, but yeah, you want to. When you first start thinking too, you're trying to really. Remember, I keep saying this because it's just about getting rid of the tension feeling. It's not so much about getting a sensation on the exterior at all times. I gotta always have this strong, I have to have a gut feeling, real strong gut feeling all the time. That's like you're trying too hard. That's not how it is when you're out of the tension. So, you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Like, it's not so much on focusing so much on the other techniques, although these are the methods to getting rid of the tension more so than anything else. So now we're really going to reconnect our thoughts. Now when we're thinking of ourselves doing things, unfortunately, we have to force it into ourselves because we have just been thinking about ourselves doing everything with this hard faced head tension in the projection of everything that you're doing. And so instead we have to think of ourselves doing everything without that. So like that same grounding feeling we have established, now we're transferring it more into our thoughts, and just like think about yourself doing something. I don't know, walking out the door and getting the mail, and the envision of yourself doing it, whether it's even in the third person or the first person, really. Things seem to be better in the first person though, but in any case, you're just thinking of yourself doing that with where you're sensing the exterior, you have, and there is no tension, right? So in your thoughts, you are now this person that's not doing the tension. So that's important. Although, and then at that point, you are like, you just be like, okay, we're good. I'm, free, because that will help you to really get more engaged in the kind of more exact feeling of what getting out of the tension feels like. And the more exact feeling of what out of the tension is just it's not so much where you're so concentrated on having a strong gut feeling on things. It's not where you're just on the verge of not doing the tension and trying to keep a stronger focus on the outside world while also kind of like not, it's not that, it's what will happen is that it's just all about relaxation. Then you'll be like, you'll just kind of more start to think, a flowing thought will start to go, and as you're thinking, your body will just start to be relaxed, and and then you'll just be like thinking. As long as your body is relaxed, there's no inner tension here, and the thoughts are not connected into a tension projection, then you're really back to normal, as if you never even did EEG biofeedback. And then it seems so easy when you're out of it and not doing any tension, and then you think like, man, but because I don't, like, do I have to do those techniques? Because when you're out of it, all I am is I'm just kind of just thinking without the tension in my head. And that's all I need to do, really. I just start thinking about stuff and there's not tension attached to it. That's it, right? But how do you, but the transfer for when you are in it real hard to getting there, unfortunately isn't quite that easy. It's more, I mean, it could be. It depends on how hard you're in it and everything, really. But, so yeah, I mean, definitely. The reason why grounding works is because what you're doing is you're doing this action. This action that I accidentally started doing because of biofeedback doing it wrong. So, damn it. That's why I'm probably one of the only ones ever to have done this. Like up in my head with this tension thing. I didn't know it was possible when but it very much is. Man. And it turns you into a zombie. Like, you go from, like, I went from the most athletic by far person in my school, broke all the athletic records, on the way to becoming like an Olympic athlete. And I was voted the most funniest kid in my class. I was just an absolute genius, right? To total zombie. People, I turned into, like, even somebody even called me like, oh, they call him the Rock, because he's like I'm really dumb like that. Isn't that crazy to go from the smartest person in the school to instantly right after getting locked into the beta lock of the EEG biofeedback tension thing. Instantly. And not only that, but it was horrifically painful. So that lasted, so I was stuck in that for probably a good 8 years, really, nonstop. Trying to figure out what the fuck I did and how to stop it, and I'm like, how did I just not do it? Because you get locked into it. But just like when it drops and you're able to start thinking without any tension connected to it, that just automatically gets locked into place too. In the same way that you get locked into the other way. Boy, and it's just crazy that how real that is, and how much damaging of a horror show it causes, getting locked into what I did. It's unbelievably bad. So it's still like really a fearful thing, because yes, not doing it, that's pretty easy. Like, every time I do this, it's almost like I am scared to, it's kind of like, because the way in which the tension happens is kind of like an instant thing where you're kind of thinking, like it shallows automatically. That thinking shallows automatically, and it goes into the tension, and it's like your kind of gut feeling tension, because that's also going away at the same time as you're locking in. Unlocking it, then your thought flows can start to flow, and then a gut feeling will start flowing kind of with those kind of thought images, and then at that point, depending on what type of thing you're thinking about, like a real high action thing or a real scary sad thing, whatever it may be, then your gut feeling will just increase just automatically. So because what happens is you took your thoughts and connected them into this internal hard inner tension. It feels like a ghost arm squeeze. Don't even think about it if you didn't get stuck in it. And I'm so sensitive to getting stuck into it because I got stuck in it I trained myself basically to be in it 24/7 for years and years, and as soon as I got stuck in it, turned into a zombie instantly. And then people are like, "Are you sure it was the biofeedback that did it?" Yeah, I know exactly what I did and what I'm doing. Yeah, it was the EEG. But yeah, it is. Yeah. Well, I live in a frickin' retard world, and even under this total zombie state, I'm still smarter than most people. That's how smart I was. God, so horrifying, so unfair. Such a life ruiner of something that was meant to be really great, which was me. And thanks, Dr. Nash. I hope you understand what you did to me. But I guarantee there's no way. He thinks that I'm like some idiot or something, because he never was able to see me before the biofeedback and all that stuff. But hey, whatever. Keep thinking that. You're wrong, but whatever. It doesn't matter though. But anyways, my whole point in this is that, yeah, after you get out of it, completely, and your brain is just thinking thoughts and it's just not doing the tension, then, oh my God, what was I saying? Then, my whole point was, okay, so my point was what? Why did I make this video? God damn it. That it won't feel the same. Like, it won't feel as you expect. Okay, so you're stuck in tension, and when you're out of it, even though you're doing these techniques that are on a different, where you're trying to get this gut feeling and everything, it won't feel as you're expecting it. Because in it, you're doing these techniques in which you think you have to be locked in, engaged, like you can't get away from, because it's such a doing process that inner tension was. So it's such a doing process just automatically to want to like kind of force yourself into the exterior focus, But that's why it's kind of like, okay, I'm sensing the exterior enough, even though I might be forcing it too much, which you are, but I mean, it's better than doing inner tension, right? Is to at least, once you get a stronger feel on the exterior kind of thing, then it's easier to distract yourself into getting more of a feeling on it. But anyways, out of it, it's not like I have a strong feeling. It's It's not like I have a strong feeling on that piano that's right here. It's just, it's just that I'm not doing tension. And that's what it feels like, right? Just a slight feeling connection within the thoughts. That's what it feels like. Even though these techniques that you still have to do, they're not just like where I'm just doing what I'm doing now, which is just a light thinking, just a very little gut feeling. It's just all about the thinking not being directly connected to an inner isometric tension. Like when I first got locked into it, or when being locked into it, every time you go to start saying, okay, think, you just can't help yourself from trying to lock into tension as you think. Everything's a locked in tension, because that's what I did. I was trained to try to do that, to lock into tension as I focus. That's what I thought focusing was. It's crazy. I mean, either way, I was trying to cheat the system. I don't know, but anyways, horribly dangerous, because when you lock into that, as smart as I am, it's still really complicated on how to unlock it, because when the method in which it gets unlocked, it's kind of like, it's such an innate thing, but it is something that will just you kind of have to let it happen, where you just start zoning into what you're thinking, and then pretty soon, oh my god, I'm thinking without doing tension at the same time. I'm back to my self that I should have always stayed. So sad, so unfair, so much life wasted and ruined. So unfair. But yeah, it's just even though the techniques to get out of it are not, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't still do those techniques, even though when you're out of it and the flow is just the normal thought flow, and you're basically grounded, but it's not like you're hard grounded. I mean, it doesn't really matter. But as far as if I could explain, like, okay, so you can get out of the tension, like, so I'm out of the tension right now, right? Okay, say I'm out of it. And I know what I did with the inner tension, hardcore clench, horrible hell, right? How would I explain how to not do it when in that state of horrible hell? Just how do I explain to my own self, okay, how you just switch to not doing it? To not doing it. Yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy, because it is such a powerful, strong, just like, it's like an internal itch of hard tension that, you just can't just switch out of it. You have to just kind of ground out of it first. You got to release that tension, and then let it kind of naturally engage. You can help it out with trying to get your thought images on yourself doing everything without any tension. I think that's helpful, but eventually that's why it's like, okay, I'm free of it. I'm going to stop doing the techniques, because if you keep doing the techniques, you can ruminate into it just because you're overdoing it. It's like analysis through paralysis style. Like you'd think, oh, I feel kind of good. I kind of feel out of it, but I'm not fully out of it. I want to really get real strong gut feeling focused out of it. And so you're trying to hold that. In the same way you held the tension by wanting it to not be any worse or whatever, you're trying to hold the Tai Chi feeling of the exterior. You're trying to hold it in that same way, trying to, because it's really hard to not feel. It's the trying to not feel it as you're feeling it and trying to do that switch. It's not easy. It is not easy. So real, but not easy. Super easy when you're just out here thinking about it and being like, Mom, how would I? Yeah. That's why it's so dangerous to ever get locked into it. Because it takes away your thoughts too, Your thoughts turn into just like almost just ultra focused on that feeling of it. And so, those thoughts that you usually would need to like break out of it, that just automatically connect to your kind of emotional feeling flow, somatic feelings they call it. That's your emotion, that's your gut feelings, somatic feelings, versus isometric inattention, which is what I did because of the biofeedback thing. But that sucks. Darn. Oh well. But yeah, that's my point, is that you still want to do those techniques. But then, like, when you are at that point where, okay, I'm grounded and whatever, you have to be like, okay, I'm out of it, because that will allow you to just kind of start getting into a state of mind where you really start freeing of it by that. Those thoughts just kind of gotta naturally start taking a hold of the feelings, just by like, okay, I'm out of it enough to just kind of like just start thinking about things not related to the biofeedback inattention, and then pretty soon it's like, oh wow, yeah, it just so yeah. And also, I mean, it's like you're in those visualizations too feel like almost like they're coming from your nose. They're coming straight out of your eyes, just as I actually see. That's where the thought visions are. I mean, when you get stuck in it, everything's totally messed up. You're like, how do I even think? Where did my thought images feel like they came from? Where did people talk about having gut feelings? You lose it all in that horrible hell. Where was my gut feelings? Well, the gut feelings are just like right in front of you. They're just right here in front of you. They feel mostly inside of you. When you get more of them with more emotions, they'll feel like a little bit more outside of you, but just right in front of you. These are the things where I'm like saying, hey, all humans and all animals, because none of them got entrapped in an isometric inattention hell. How do you just feel and think? You never did biofeedback in a wrong way where you got yourself stuck in a nightmare horror. How do you just do what you do, like the way I did it when I was born and lived all my years before I did the biofeedback in the wrong way? How do you do it? What does it feel like? Oh boy. Oh well. Anyways, talk to you later. Maybe.